Well, welcome to a 180 U-Turn, the talk show that features some of the greatest conversion stories of our time. Stories of men and women who are on the highway to hell when they had encountered a Damascus Road event that completely turned their lives around. Hello everyone, I'm Steve Savant, and today we're broadcasting live from Church on the Street, located at the Dream Center in the heart of Phoenix, Arizona. One of the top post-prison transition, detox, and facilities for rehabilitation for inmates, for drug, for alcohol abuse. And for more information on their prison ministries, rehabilitation services, weekly meetings, and any special events, just hop out to their website at cotsphoenix.org. That's cotsphoenix.org. And hey, if you want to write me at the show, my show email is steve@180uturn.com. That's steve@180youturn.com. Today on 180, I'm putting a spotlight on the conversion story of Hannah Sherry. Welcome to this show, Hannah.
Thank you.
I read your, of course, as you know, we had a pre-interview. I read your outline, and we're going to get into things today. And I'm sorry to say that, one of the things putting a spotlight on darkness. And I don't want to get too much into details on things that we're going to be talking about, but it's going to be taking us to a whole new level of devils in this program and in this broadcast. And maybe the public is unaware of some of these things at all. But the big thing I want to know is if you see this show and you say, man, I have things just like Hannah did. If God can fix Hannah, he can fix you. If he can fix Steve, he can fix you. I want it to be an encouraging time, not a downer at all. Well, Hannah, let's talk about it. We get into this thing about early childhood things that really mess you up and set you on you set your footing on a completely shaky ground, and then people wonder why we turn up to be screw-ups in high school, right? So I'm thinking about, you and I share a front-end story right from the get-go. Your parents had to get married.
They didn't get married.
They didn't get married?
No.
Oh, they didn't. So
they never did get married.
So you're the result
right.
of their fornication.
Right.
And they didn't get married ever.
Right.
Okay. Now, in my case, I was conceived out of wedlock, but my parents did get married, and so that's just it's a terrible thing to think about, that we're behind the eight ball from the get-go. And by the way, I need to say, in Deuteronomy, it talks about the top 10 abominations in 29, and one of them is having kids out of wedlock. So I'm just telling you, coming to you saying, look, when you come to the Lord, curses like that cannot alight any longer, which, great for that. Now, when you started out this way, it was really, your dad was a total meth head.
Yes.
Let's talk about a little bit about this, because you're now the second full generation of dope heads, right? I mean, my generation, and I'm sorry to say this, we invented all this, the boomers, and we now give an inheritance when you're not saved. This is the inheritance we're giving our kids.
Right.
Second generation dope heads, right? So talk a little bit about your dad and their addiction, and he's basically got your mom into this.
So my dad was addicted to meth, and he was dealing, and he was just living that life, and he met my mom through my uncle. They were friends, and he did get my mom dragged into it a little bit, and she thought she was in love with him, whatever, and she got pregnant with me, and when she did, she decided she had to leave because he wasn't coming clean, and he wasn't making an effort to be a father. He was just in his mess. Mm-hmm. And so my mom had to move away from him so that she wouldn't get sucked back into that life, because when she got pregnant with me, she stopped doing all drugs.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting, it's like no guy that is young really is ready for parenthood. I mean, honestly, right? And when you complicate it with meth on top of that issue, it just compounds his ability, and your mom's not trying to be a bad person, she's just leaving a bad situation.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just got to do it. And good thing, your mom's parents had a really nice place up in Fresno.
Right.
So you got over to Fresno, and you spent some of your childhood there.
Yes. I had a childhood basically in the mountains, the Sierra Nevada mountains outside of Fresno, because my grandparents had some money because of my grandfather. He had some kind of invention, and I think he still makes royalties off of that. So they purchased a resort up in the mountains that has like cabins on it, and a store, a restaurant, a bar.
Wow.
And so my mom decided to move up there so she could go to work in the office and have me there in the office with her, because she told me that she looked for childcare. They were in LA, and she looked for childcare, and she didn't trust anybody that she found. So she thought that it would be better just to have me with her.
Now, you grew up there, and right around when you were just turning 4, pretty early on after you got up there, your mom met a guy.
Yes.
And she married him.
Yes.
And they had 2 children. You're half brothers, right?
Yes.
So that seemed to be okay at first, right? I mean, in your recollection, does it seem to be that was good?
As far as I knew, that was my dad. I wasn't old enough to understand that he wasn't my father, and he was good to me, and he was good to my mom for a while. And then things.
Well, this guy went to church. You were telling me he went to church. He might even have a relationship with Jesus, you were saying.
Yes.
I mean, that's a good thing.
Yes.
So for a little while, it seemed to be okay. But here's where it seems like we always descend in this. When you're involved in things that you shouldn't be involved in, and you get into drinking, and this guy got into himself, now all of a sudden he becomes a meth head. He's drinking like a fish, right?
Yep.
And none the worst, as you can predict always on these stories, starts beating on your mom.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't understand how guys can ever think that their manhood is being proved at all by beating up on their wife. What's with that? I mean, I've been married to a single girl 46 years. I never laid a hand on her. So I'm just always mystified at how people can go through this. So they divorced.
Yes.
All right. So that was kind of a traumatic thing, because he was kind of a churchgoer at the beginning. He kind of was trying to
like I said, he was my dad. Like as far as I knew, he was my dad, and then things fell apart.
Well, now your mom's single. She's got 3 kids. She's working a lot, spending a lot of time. Your mom is trying to take you to church, right? She's trying to do the good thing, right, with your life, and spending time outside and going to school. Things are seemingly settling down after he left. And then your brothers eventually would come. Your brothers got picked up by their dad, right, for visitation. How about you?
There was a few times that he would leave me behind on purpose to make a point to my mom. He was really attacking my mom more than anything. Like, she's not my kid. You're a whore, basically, is what he was doing. And
did he tell her that?
He would talk about her that way. And
can I stop you for a second?
Yeah.
I just want to say, because this story is going to get way more rougher than we're talking right now. I just want you to know, remember, when you come to the Lord, we do not acknowledge the word. We're not the B word. We're beloved. We're not hoes. We're holy. We've changed. Any husband that's berating their wife on issues of sexual impropriety, dude, if you didn't know that before you got in, that's your problem, right? You should have known that, and you're accepting it. You cannot berate women, and especially in front of the kids. What's with that? I mean, what part of your manhood does that support? I can't get it. So, sorry, I don't mean to.
No, it's good.
But it's a blistering rebuke. How's that? Then, what really gets me is, it's just like, he's trying to attack your mom by not taking you on visitation, right? And the child, once again, because we both have a suffering childhood, once again the child pays. Say, I'm trying to get back at my spouse. There's vengeance. How can that ever bring anything but death?
Right.
And then now you're adding to the plate, right? Oh, the kid's getting killed on this whole issue. I'm using her to get to the gal. Okay. So I again, atrocious. Now you got into, this is what's so shocking. Everybody usually, you see one spooky movie, Wizard of Oz Witch was too much for me. That was okay. That's it. I'm done with horror movies, And it wasn't even a horror movie. But you watched The Shining.
Yeah.
And what did you think when you first saw this? Because you're pretty young. You're what, 10, 11 years old?
Yeah, I was at a sleepover with some friends, and her parents put it on. I don't know why you would do that, but put on The Shining, Stanley Kubrick's The Shining, and that pretty much traumatized me. Like, there was many years that every time I would go in the bathroom, I would open up the bathtub to make sure there was nothing in there because of that scene with dead lady in the bathtub, and just a lot of. I was already having nightmares on a pretty much nightly basis. That was something that I was dealing with since I was a small child, was nightmares and like feeling like there's a presence in my room, and like just knowing that something is wrong. And so watching The Shining just added to that paranoia and added to that fear level. And yeah.
I just can say, thank God I was a Christian when this went down. When my kids were growing up, no movies, nothing spooky, nothing that could open you up to demonic visitations at night through nightmares or through hearing sounds in the dark and, just blowing your mind and freaking you out and waking up with nightmares and scared and hyperventilating, all that stuff. And I can only say to you, you think your kid's so grown up and got a capacity for this kind of thing that they can watch this? This is not entertainment.
That's right.
This is opening a gateway into hell. So you got to be really careful here. So I'm sorry to be so preachy here.
No.
But so
people need to know.
But Mom remarried again.
Right.
You're 11 now, and this person had 2 older kids.
Yes.
So now you have your 2 younger brothers, right?
Yes.
And these 2 older people.
Yep. Older sister and an older brother.
So we have a family of 5.
Yep.
Yeah. And your dad, the dad of your younger brothers has now dropped out completely.
Right.
He's not even visiting his own boys.
No.
Okay, I'm going to stop you again. And after my 16 years in prison, I've learned one immutable fact. That guys are so freaking disconnected to their kids, it's unbelievable. They don't write them from prison. They don't ever give them any calls. They don't call for visitation. What is your problem? You fathered these kids. I don't understand why, and I truly don't, how you can disconnect yourself. I can't imagine not being with my children or my grandchildren. I can't imagine it. It's complete dereliction of duty and parental obligation. How can you miss that? How do they miss stuff like that? I mean, just
generational curses, and they didn't have a father growing up either, and it's just sin. It's just sin.
Yeah, right. True. And I'm thinking, you were already having problems. And, watching movies like The Shining doesn't help.
No.
And all of a sudden, you, at 12, I don't know how you self-diagnosed this, but at 12, you said, hey, I think I got schizophrenia.
Oh, I didn't self-diagnose. I didn't find out that I had schizophrenia until I was 26.
Oh, really?
But the symptoms started to come up when I was around 12.
So you didn't identify it as schizophrenia.
Right, I didn't know what it was.
But there's something going on.
Something wrong.
Okay. And I'm thinking, when you're 12 years old and you have schizophrenia, but you don't know what that is, and you don't know how to deal with it, and you add on top of that paranoia.
Yep.
And you're now hearing, not audible, but you're having voices in your head.
Yes.
Right, at 12.
Yes.
And you have deep sadness all the time.
Yes.
See, sorrow at the level of a child. I mean, no child deserves to go through this. I mean, any parent. I mean, if you're worth your salt, I just don't understand how you can desert your kids and let them go through trauma like this. But I'm so sorry to say that this is going to set the stage for a long-term damage that's going to allow you to get into stuff you never thought in your world. Nobody ever grows up and says, hey, I can't wait till I grow up as a child and become a heroin addict. Nobody says that. Nobody says, hey, I can't wait to go up and be a bad guy in the neighborhood and go off and do 20 years down at some prison. Nobody ever says this, but we wind up doing these things, and it's an atrocity, really. Now, your older siblings, hey, they're smoking cigarettes, they're doing weed, and so, monkey see, monkey do.
Right.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. So they were doing it, so I wanted to do it too, so I could hang out with them, and they kind of pushed it on me so that they could do it around me and I wouldn't tell on them. And
you didn't?
No.
Right.
And then I got to take, like, the cigarettes especially, that turned into a 20-year addiction. I am only just the last 6 months is the longest I've been without a cigarette in my life.
How's that going?
It's great. Yeah.
I'm so happy for you.
Yeah, and that was a rough one. Let me tell you, this program doesn't allow smoking, and I got in trouble more than once for.
Oh yes. But when I was here back in the day, many people left early. Okay, now, but the thing about smoking weed at this time was that actually helped your schizophrenia, right? No, I'm sorry, your depression.
It helped the depression.
It helped your depression, not your. It actually messed with your schizophrenia.
It made that worse.
It made it worse, but your depression wasn't as bad.
Yeah.
So now you're just schizo, not depressed.
And I'm just masking the depression. Really, it was a Band-Aid. It wasn't.
And during this time, you're going to school, and now you're experimenting. You hit the medicine chest of your mom's medicine cabinet, and you discover opioids. Vicodin, I believe, if you told me it was correct, right?
Yep.
And so now you're doing Vicodin, you're drinking, you're doing weed, And you're how old at this time? 13.
13.
Yeah, see, it's amazing to me that it's getting younger. Every generation, it's just getting younger now.
Yes.
The beginnings of everything is just getting younger and younger. And of course, you're building the foundation for strongholds to be created in your life. And of course, it doesn't help when you discover boys.
Nope.
No, that's not a good thing. So I want to be able to say in this story, we've set up some of the things that are going to happen in the next two episodes that are going to be as dark as you've ever heard on this show. And I just want you to know there's reasons that people default and descend into the abyss at a pace that you cannot believe. And you'll sit there and go, how can this happen? But these things happen to children that when it does, it sets their heart and their feet on a path of destruction that we can't believe. Well, for more information on all the prison ministries, the rehab facilities here, and all the other events that they have here at the Dream Center with Church on the Street, just hop out to their website at cotsphoenix.org. And tomorrow we're going to continue our sad saga with her story, with Hannah's story. And remember, until next time, I'm Steve Savant. And remember, no one's outside the reach of God. No, not one.